Last week we saw a big pump for Bitcoin, but this week we are seeing a little bit of a decline happening. So this is looking a little bit more bearish, but Bitcoin is still in this huge uptrend on the daily time frame, so there's not a lot to panic about. And if Bitcoin is coming back to lower levels, that means that we're still in a beautiful uptrend to the top side. In today's video I'm going to tell you everything what is going to be next for Bitcoin and what we can expect for Bitcoin in the coming days, because I see a lot of interesting price action for Bitcoin unfolding on the charts. I will also have a look at the two altcoins Solana and Polkadot, but about that later in the video. There's also a lot of interesting data coming into the market which I will discuss with you, and there's also a lot of interesting news about the Ethereum and the Bitcoin ETFs. So watch this video all the way to the end, like the video, and let's dive right into the charts. First I want to begin to look at the chart for Bitcoin on the weekly time frame, and we can see Bitcoin was in this huge bull flag formation since the bear market lows. We saw a huge run up, then we saw a huge consolidation for almost more than 8 months. So this was looking very bullish to see, because this bull flag formation is a typical bullish bias pattern. And last week we saw a beautiful green candle closing above this huge bull flag formation, which is very bullish to see, and we can confirm the breakout now. And this week we are seeing a little bit of a retracement back to this previous resistance area to turn it into support. So if this previous resistance area has been turned into support and the support is holding strong, then we can see some exponential moves for Bitcoin, and this is something that needs to happen first. So this bull flag formation broke to the top side, we see a retest, and now we can just enter the exponential phase for Bitcoin. And yesterday the Bitcoin ETFs had a bit of a bearish day, and it was the first bearish day in the last 2 weeks. So we saw a huge inflow for BlackRock, but eventually the ARK Bitcoin ETF was selling like crazy, and they almost sold for 135 million, and this was having a bearish effect on the price of Bitcoin yesterday. And in total we saw a $79.1 million of outflow. So this was the reason we saw a little bit of a price decline for Bitcoin yesterday. But I think today will be another very bullish day, because this was only just one ETF that was selling their portion of Bitcoin. So let's see if we can see another bullish day for the Bitcoin ETFs today. And the Ethereum ETFs had a bit of a bullish day yesterday. We saw that BlackRock was buying for almost $12 million of Ethereum, and the rest of the Ethereum ETFs didn't buy any. So this was the reason that we almost saw a $12 million of inflows into the Ethereum ETFs. And if we then have a look at this chart with horizontal levels that act as support and resistance, we can see that the $69,000 was a little bit too strong. We saw a rejection for Bitcoin, and now we come all the way back to this next previous support area, which is around the $66,500. So this level needs to hold in order to become a little bit more bullish, and from there we can just aim for higher targets. So if this level is going to hold today for Bitcoin, we can probably see a bullish continuation of the price, because Bitcoin is still in this huge uptrend on the daily time frame, and we are seeing now a little bit of a retracement to test previous levels as support. And the next big resistance will be around the $68,000, and after that we will come back to the $69,500. And if we are breaking these previous resistance areas, then the road to the previous all-time high is very open. And looking at this other daily Bitcoin chart, we can see that Bitcoin was in this huge downtrend. We saw lower highs occurring on the chart, but last week Bitcoin created a new higher high, which indicated that we are breaking this huge downtrend to the top side. So this is looking very bullish, of course. And now this higher high has been made, but we could potentially come back through the previous resistance line to test it as support, and from there we can probably create a new higher low, and this will still be very bullish. And in an uptrend you always see a little bit of throwbacks, just like we saw here, to create more exponential moves to the top side after that. So if we're going to create a higher low around this level and retest the previous resistance as support, I am very interested in buying Bitcoin for the long term, because I think we will just create a new higher low, and from this retest you can just enter the market in the long or just spot buy order for your portfolio. And the breakout target of this formation will be confluent with this top side of the formation, and that will be around the $71,500. So this could be a very interesting trade to make on Bitcoin. And a very interesting chart to look at is this Bitcoin number of new addresses. And every time Bitcoin spiked to the top side, we saw a huge increase of new addresses, just like we saw here, and that we also saw in the beginning of this year when Bitcoin was rising like crazy. And now we can see a huge decrease in the new addresses being made, and it looks like it's almost a new all-time low. So this is very bullish actually, because This means that the retail is not yet there in the market, and I think when Bitcoin will create new highs, then we will also see a new spike of new addresses being made, and this means that the retail is coming back to the market. And I think if retail is coming back to the market, we will see a lot of FOMO in the market, and that will pump up the price for Bitcoin even more. So I think when Bitcoin will create new highs, this number of new addresses will spike to the top side as well. And another interesting chart to look at for Bitcoin are these horizontal resistance areas. And we can see that this horizontal resistance area around the $69,000 was a little bit too strong. And as we can see here, this previous high was the confluent with a lot of resistance for Bitcoin. So we are now seeing a huge rejection from this level, and we could probably come back to this previous resistance to turn it into support, because this resistance hasn't been tested as support yet. So we could come back to this level, retest it as support, and then aim for higher target, and then just continue the bullish uptrend to the top side. And then if we're going to break around the $69,000, then the next big resistance will be around this level, and that will be confluent with the $71,500. So this is also confluent with a lot of previous highs for Bitcoin. So this could be the next big make or break level for Bitcoin. But of course, we need to first see a break of the $69,000, and then we can just continue the bullish uptrend to the top side. And if we're going to break these horizontal levels to the top side, then Bitcoin can create a new all-time high in the coming weeks. And as I'm always saying, once you're in doubt, you have to zoom out. And we can now look at this beautiful monthly chart for Bitcoin. And in the previous cycles, we can see that everything was happening the same as it is happening right now. And we can see every time we created an all-time high for Bitcoin, then we saw a little bit of a consolidation, as we saw in the previous cycles. And that's exactly what we are seeing right now. We are seeing a huge consolidation around the previous all-time high, but in the previous cycles, after we had some consolidation around the previous all-time high, we saw a huge spike to the top side. So I believe that Bitcoin is going to create a new spike to the top side, which will bring us to new all-time highs, of course. So I expect we can see a huge exponential move for Bitcoin in the coming months. And I believe that Bitcoin will see a prices around the $150,000 at least in this bull market. And let me know in the comments what your bull market prediction for Bitcoin is in this bull cycle. And the first interesting altcoin I want to have a look at is Solana. We can see that Solana was in this huge horizontal range with multiple touch points on the lower side as support, and also on the top side we see a lot of resistance coming into the market. And from the bear market lows we saw a beautiful rise to the top side, but we can also see a little bit of a decline and a downward sloping resistance line with multiple lower highs occurring on the chart, and this was a little bit having of a bearish effect. But now we can see that Solana is creating this new higher high, and we also even broke to the top side of this huge resistance area. So this is very, very bullish for Solana. And if we then zoom in a little bit on the chart for Solana, Solana could probably retest this previous resistance as support. And if we're going to see this bullish retest, I am interested in going to long the market for Solana. And we could see some exponential moves occurring. So if this support is going to hold strong, you want to enter the market in a long, because I think we will see a continuation of the uptrend for Solana, which will be very bullish, of course. So now we broke these previous highs, and also this was confluent with a lot of resistance. So now the next big target for Solana will be around this level, and it will be around $185. So from this bullish retest, you could potentially make a beautiful trade on Solana. And the next interesting altcoin I want to have a look at is Polkadot. We can see Polkadot on the weekly time frame is in this huge horizontal range as well. We can see a lot of resistance on the top side, and also on the lower side we had some critical touches of this huge horizontal support. But for now we want to see a little bit of an uptrend for Polkadot unfolding, and that we're coming back to this next resistance on the top side, and that we're going to break it to the top side and see some exponential moves to the top side, of course. But if we're zooming in on the daily time frame, we can also see this huge consolidation formation is unfolding, and we can see a lot of touch points here on the top side as resistance, and also on the lower side we can see multiple touch points as support. So this price of Polkadot is getting squeezed into this apex, and eventually Polkadot has to pick a side. So it's going to either be a break to the top side or a break to the downside, of course. But of course everyone here wants to have a break to the top side. So if we're going to see a bullish break, we want to see a retest of the resistance to turn it into support, and then we can aim for higher targets. And then the first big resistance will be around this horizontal level, and that will be around the $5.50. So for now, Polkadot is in this huge consolidation formation on the daily time frame, but in the coming weeks we will probably see a huge breakout to either the top side or the downside. So please give a like if you find the video useful. Don't forget to follow me on my other socials, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.